We continue now at the top of Daf Ches Aleph in Meseches Bava Kamma. This is Bava Kamma Daf 98a. On the previous Amud, Rava asked Rav Chisda, what if a person borrows money from someone else? It's a certain kind of coin that he borrows, on the understanding that he's going to pay back with those same kinds of coins, and then the government increases the size of those coins. What does he pay back with? And Rav Chisda said he should pay back with those larger coins. It's essentially the same currency. The government has just changed how large that currency is, so he should pay back those exact coins. And so the Gemara asks, how can that be if he pays back those exact coins? Those coins have more purchasing power. They're larger. You can buy more fruits with those coins. So isn't that going to be a problem of ribbis? And so Rav Ashi said it depends. If the reason why these coins can purchase more fruits is because the coins themselves are more valuable, so then indeed that could be a problem of ribbis, and the borrower should pay back using those coins, but he should give back less of those coins, so he's giving back an equivalent value. However, Rav Ashi continues, V'machmas tarazil, but if the reason why he's able to buy more fruits with these coins is because the market prices went down, and it has nothing to do with the value of the coins, so then lo manchin lei, so then there's no need to make that deduction to give less coins. It's not a problem of ribbis. But the Gemara continues, but even if we disregard the fact that you can buy more fruits with these coins, still, when it comes to melting down these coins, let's say you melt down the silver, you create silver bars, it is still more valuable because the coins themselves are larger. So it still should be a problem of ribbis. And the Gemara instead says, Ella rather kihadar Rapapa of Rav Huna B'reid Rav Yoshua. It's like what happened with the incident of Rapapa and Rav Huna B'reid Rav Yoshua. Avdi Uvda, they had a case, Bezuze, the Agardemis Taya, with the money of Agardemis, who was an Arab, Adi Yud B'tamya, and it was a ratio of 10 to 8, meaning essentially to say that we do take into account the fact that these coins are larger, and you have to do a calculation of the ratio, how much larger are the coins, and you give back less coins accordingly. Rashi says, Avdu Uvda Ba'adam Shehilves Chaveru Ala Matbeya. There was a case where a person lent money to his friend on a certain kind of coin, Va'osifu Olav, and again they added to the coin, now that coin was larger, and so the way they analyzed the case was, V'holchu Eitzel Agardimus Socher Yishmal, they went to Agardimus, who was an Arab merchant, V'hayolo Min Harishono Min Hashniya, he happened to have the earlier kind of coin, and he had the second, the later kind of coin. Umatzo B'ches Shel Matbeya Shniya Yud Min Harishona V'nasan Lo Shmona, and so therefore, they were able to calculate that if you had 8 of the later coins, that was the equivalent amount of silver of 10 of the earlier coins, and that's how they did the calculation, and that's what we would do in this situation. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabba says, Hazorek matbea shel chaver liyam hagadol, if somebody throws the coin of his friend into the Yam Hagadol, into the Great Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, Potter, he is Potter in that case. My time, what's the reason? Amar, because he can say, Hamonach kamach, it's right in front of you, you should just go get the coin. Iboy is shakli, if you want, you could take it. And the Gemara explains, Vahani mili bitzlulin de kachazile. Now all of this is true only if the water is clear that you can actually see the coin. Avalachurin de lo kachazile, but if the water is dirty and you can't see the coin, lo, no. So in such a situation, you can't say that is considered damage. You owe the person for the money. Vahani mili da'aja aduye. Furthermore, that's only if he kind of hits the person so that the person drops the coin into the water. Aval shakle biyadi, but if he actually takes the coin from the person, now he's making a kinyan, he's like a thief. So migzal gazle, so then it's like he stole it. Hashava boy me'avid, and then he has to actually do a hashava. He has to return the coin or the value of the coin. And Rashi says, Amar Rabba says, Garcin and Bakulu, that should be the proper girsa throughout all the next sugyas. It's Rabba that's talking. Hazorek matbea shel chaver bayam afagav she'en yachol litzlo. He throws it into the sea. It's visible there, but the person's not able to get it. He's potter. Why? As we'll explain. The lo shakle biyadi, the case over here is he didn't take it with his hand, so there's no kinyan. Ela da'adye shahisa biyad bailim. The case is, it was actually in the hand of the owner. V'hi kozet tachas yado, and he kind of hit him underneath his hand. V'nitzel leyam, and he caused it to go into the sea. Ho'alut sululim hein. So since that water is clear, v'kachazule, you could still see the coin. Amar le, so he can say to him, hamonach kamach ve'inavud, it's right in front of you. It's not considered lost. Now, if you're going to say you have to pay someone who can swim down there and get it, but that's just gramahu, that's what we call grama, that's indirect kind of damage. Shagorim l'hafsido so schar, because he caused indirectly that this person now has to pay for something. Ugrama b'nizak and potter. When it comes to grama, by nizikin we say potter, that's why he's exempt in this case. Aval achurim, but if the water is dirty, b'shas hataz, at the time that he hits him and he causes it to fall in the water, the havale ma'isa bi'adayim avidu, so then it's already considered like he actively caused it to be lost. Ve'in zagorim, that's not called indirect causation. Elamamish to hamamish itizo, that's considered a direct kind of damage, and that's why in that situation one would pay. And the Gemara continues, Masiv Rava. Rava asks the following question from a brisa. This is from the Tosefta. Ein mechalalin al mos she'enan b'reshu. So a person is not able to redeem meiser sheni on money that's not in his possession. Ketzad how so? Hayu lo mos bekastara. If a person has money in Kastara, that's a place, or Bahar HaMelech, or on the mountain of the king, another area, or Shenaf al kiso liyam hagadol, or let's say his wallet fell into the yam hagadol, ein mechalin. In all those cases, he can't redeem the meiser sheni on that money. That's not considered to be money in his rishus. Rashi explains, Haylo mos bekistera makom. This is an area. V'hu rachak mo. The point over here is these are areas that are far away. V'yesh bo sakanas drachim. It's dangerous to go there. V'ein shayaras mitzuyas sham. You don't have caravans that are traveling that way. So that's considered a situation where it's not in the person's rishus, and that's why we say ein mechalin. The person can't redeem the meiser sheni on that money. And so Rashi says, Alma ovid choshev le b'yam hagadol. So you see from this brisa that it's in the yam hagadol. That's one of the cases, nafal kisa liyam hagadol, and that's considered to be out of his rishus. It's considered to be lost. Isn't this a question on what Rabbah said? And the Gemara says, Amar Rabbah says, Shani le'inyan meiser. It's different by meiser sheni, because there is a special requirement to be inan matzli biyodcha. It needs to be, not only does it need to be not of it actually has to be matzli biyodcha. It has to be in your possession, easily found. The Rachmana Amar v'tzarta hakesa biyodcha. That's what the pasuk says. V'tzarta hakesa biyodcha. That means it has to be matzli biyodcha. V'lekan, when it's in the yam hagadol, you don't have that. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, and Rabba says, Hashaf matbeya shel chavero pater. If somebody effaces the coin of his friend, he is pater. That means to say the person rubs out the image that's on the coin, so now it's just going to be the metal. It's not actually going to be considered a coin. It's not considered currency. So even though in a certain sense it goes down in value, now you can't use it in circulation any longer, but the person is pater. My time, and what's the reason he's pater for doing this? Dehalo avad v'lo midi, because he didn't really do anything in this case. It's the exact same metal. It's just missing the image that was on it. And the Gemara says, V'hani mili demachya bekornas of etarshi. Now that's only true if a person takes a hammer and he makes it smooth. Avol shaifa b'shufina, but if he takes something where he's actually scraping off the image, so he's scraping off some of the metal, then chisure chasre. In that case, he's actually taken away. It's lacking now. That actually is considered damage, and he would have to pay. Rashi explains, Chisure chasre umamishu, that's actually real damage. V'lo grama, that's not indirect. If you just rub it out but you don't take any of the material off, that's considered indirect damage. You didn't do anything to the physical product. It's just that indirectly he can't use it as currency. But if you actually scrape metal off, you scrape the image off, that's considered to be direct damage. It's not grama. And the Gemara says, and Rashi says, Taima de Rabba bekulam mishum grama b'nizakanu pater. All of these cases that we're going to have of Rabba are all cases of indirect damage, and that's why Rabba says pater. And the Gemara continues, Masiv Rava. Rava asks the following question from a brisa. This is from the Tosefta. If a master hits his eved on the eye and he causes him to go blind, he hits him by the ear, causes him to go deaf. In those cases, the eved goes free. If he hits him opposite his eye, let's say he hits a wall near his eye, and that causes him not to be able to see. He hits him opposite his ear, and that causes him not to be able to hear. Then the eved does not go free. And Rashi explains the question, Al Ozno v'chersho, we're focusing on the case where he hits him by the ear and he goes deaf. Al ma'avagav de lo chasri, see over here, he didn't actually cause anything physical, but kevan da'asa ma'isa begufo, but since he did something to his body, lav grama kachashiv, it's not considered indirect. Elamamish, it's considered direct damage. V'hachanami, here also when you're smashing the coin, even if you don't take any metal off, kevan the machia bekornasei upachse, if he's hitting it with a hammer, and he's causing that the image is going to go away, v'al kacha chisro damin, that causes him to lose money. Maisu, that should be considered direct, not indirect. It should be no different than the situation of causing someone to go deaf. And the Gemara responds, Rabba l'taime. Rabba here is following his opinion. The Amar Rabba, because Rabba says, Chershu la'aviv. Let's say a person makes his father go deaf. The halacha is your chayav misa if you wound your father. The question is that a wound? Rabba says, yes, nereg, he is chayav misa, he's killed. Sheyefshar lecharisha below chabura. It's impossible to cause someone to go deaf without some kind of wound. There must be a wound there. The tips of the dama nafatle beune. There must be a drop of blood that's inside of his ear, and therefore it actually is physical damage. And that's why in the case of the eved as well, the eved will go free. And Rashi explains, Rabba l'taimi hilkach gabe eved nami, therefore by an eved also, chisarnu, it's as if he's missing something, it's a real physical damage, and that's why we would say, again, the eved would go free. And Rashi notes, Suchaneged ozno pater. Now, if he doesn't hit him directly on the ear, he just hits him, let's say, on the wall near the ear, opposite the ear, mishum devahachi, so there is pater, mishum devahachi lo havalei lamechash, va'avadai gramu, because that, he shouldn't have been concerned that might have been the result of what he was doing, and that's certainly considered grama, that's certainly considered to be indirect. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, and Rabba says, Hatzorim ozen paraso shel chaver, if somebody nicks the ear of the cow of his friend, pater, he's pater in that case. What he's doing over there is he's causing a blemish that you can no longer bring this animal as a carbon, but he's pater, my time, and what's the reason? Paraka de kaima, because physically the cow is exactly the same. Delo avid velo midi, he really didn't do anything to the cow. V'kulu shvarim lav lagavi mizbeach kaimi. We don't assume that all oxen are meant to be brought on the mizbeach just because you can't bring this particular animal on the mizbeach. That's not a reason we say you're chayav for the damages. And the Gemara continues, Masav Rava asks on this, Ha'osa malacha b'meichatos u'v'paras chatos, if somebody does work with the meichatos, that's again the waters that are used for purification. Paras chatos refers to the para aduma. If you do malacha with those, and that essentially disqualifies them, so it's a kind of a damage, but pater midinei adam v'chayav b'dinei shamayim. The person is pater in terms of the laws in this world, he's only chayav in the heavenly court. And the Gemara then says, Malachu de lo minkar hazeka. Now this is true if you do work with it, because that's not something that's a recognizable damage. We understand your pater. Avol tzorim, but it sounds like if you create some kind of physical blemish, like a nick in the ear of the animal, etc., the minkar hazeka, which is a damage that is physically recognizable, hachanami de mechayev b'dinei adam. It sounds like he would be chayev b'dinei adam, and that's a question on Rabba. And the Gemara responds to that, Amri, they say, Hu adin dafilu tzorim pater. The truth is that even if he would cause a nick on the animal, also we would say pater. And so why are we dealing here with the case of malacha? Val kamash malon, here it's teaching us dafilu malacha, the lo minkar hazeka, even work where there's no recognition of the damage, chayev b'dinei shamayim. The point is that the person is still chayev in the heavenly court. But mechatos, how do you do work with the waters of the chatos that's for purification? That's shakal connected mishkolos. It means you're using it for weights. You're trying to determine how much something weighs. That's a kind of malacha. Upara v'chol masa, the paraduma, and anything to do with the paraduma, nifsalim b'malacha, they become disqualified if work is done with them. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, and Rabba says, Hasoref shtaro shel chaver. If somebody burns the document of his friend, that document is supposed to be used to collect the debt. So in that case also, pater, the person is pater, it's considered indirect damage. The Amar le, because he can say to him, Niyora kaloiminach, all I did was burn a piece of paper. The fact that you can't collect the debt, that's indirect. The Gemara says, Maskif la Rami bar Chama. Rami bar Chama asks on this, Hechi dami, what exactly is the case? And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf 98a Daf Amid Beis.